let my wife
Yep.
do that.
I should have, just wanted you to have to rearrange all of these.
I hope.
All right, I'll go ahead and press record and we'll get started and hope that it's flying through his face.
Yes.
All right, everyone, welcome out to our Barker Park Committee meeting. It's good to be back 1 month after our first meeting, super exciting. And for the thousands of people that are watching online right now, I'm sure there's at least 2,000 or 3,000 online. I'm JD Valpass. I'm a city councilman here in North Ogden and super excited to be a part of this committee. So we're going to go ahead and get started with a invocation and or thought by Rod Barker, and he will also lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be able to meet together this night. Grateful for such a beautiful day. For the skies and the sunshine, remind us of the life and the joy that we have from day to day. We're grateful to live in this beautiful area with the freedoms and liberties which we enjoy. Thankful for those who have been elected to lead and to guide. We're grateful tonight to discuss this Barker Park, beautiful piece of land that's been preserved over the years. We pray that as we visit, we might be respectful of one another, be respectful of those who have made previous decisions and spent countless hours preparing and laboring, contemplating. We pray that we might do those things that could be beneficial and proper for the citizens of this great community. We pray this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for offering that up. So our first consent agenda item is the meeting minutes from our last meeting on January 24th of this year. If anyone's had a chance to read through and confirm some things, are there any changes or corrections that need to be made on those minutes? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for last meeting.
I say that.
Well, why don't you make the first motion? Say, motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, great.
I second it.
Excellent. Very good. So the minutes have been approved unanimously for our last meeting on January 24th. So our agenda item, first coming up, number 2 is Mr. Grant Crossman, who has been heavily, well, needless to say, heavily involved in the Bill Barker Park 501c3 program. We had a special request in our last committee meeting to make sure that the man that has it all going on and has been involved in this for a long time can give us a history of what's been happening the last few years. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Grant.
Thank you. Since the completion of phase 1, the amphitheater, more development over there has really stalled. Seeing the demands on city funds, Blake in 2019 created a 501c3 Bill Barker Park. The growth pressures on the city budget and everything else make it really difficult. Well, the city couldn't afford to develop this kind of a thing. It's too big, it's too massive, and you either need a tax increase or a big increase, and nobody out there is going to vote for that. So we decided to try to do it with private funds. Linda and I sponsored for a number of years cleanups over there, and it seemed like you went back and just cleaned up the same thing again and again every year, as Peggy can attest. So in 2022, Blake and we got together to join forces. The Bill Barker Park team, I can actually talk this right up because this will be it. The Bill Barker Park team has quality people on it, as you can see from there. representatives from both Barker families, a prominent landscaper, USC certified master docent from the Ogden Botanical Gardens, a representative from the North Ogden Historical Association. We have input channels from the Shoshone Nation and others who have key talents. To date, volunteers have donated since Blake and I started this, 1,820 hours. 3,970 of in-kind use of equipment, etc. 6,340 real cost donations. One of which I'll hand around to you right now. This was one that Susan Clements donated. It was about $160 for our ramp application, but we needed to have 17 color copies of, so we got them. So that was it. And then we have a program to kind of reward the volunteers. And the total that's been donated on that, according to the people who collected it, Pizza Man and, all the other places, comes into around 7,000. Okay, what am I doing wrong?
Top button on the right,
Oh, there, there.
yeah, it should be.
Oh, this would just be. Probably doesn't have a battery. Very.
Now it's just tell John to go to the next slide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some of this would be bouncing around a little bit, but okay. One of the first things that we did as a Bill Barker Park team was to put together a mission statement. Oh, wow, okay.
just took me.
Now, how do I make it go back?
The other button on the other side.
Oh, wow, okay, I can do that. Using private donations, volunteers, and minimal government contributions, will create a peaceful, educational, yet vibrant recreational, perpetually maintained, preserved by restoring and replicating early natural and man-made elements of the area. And there's a great history of this area. It goes back to the indigenous peoples, and there are all kinds of really positive things that are here. Okay. Oh, look at that! I can do it. Oh, that doesn't show it very well. That's great on my screen, but that's okay. Phase one, the amphitheater was completed, and at this point, people in the community, I think, at least many that I've talked to, would like to see something else done with the property over there. They're saying we've had it for over 20 years. We'd like to have something more done with it. So we put together this proposal that's called phase two. What it takes in is just the area between the two wooded streams and then the Chicken Coop Trail. We're only doing phase 2A at this point. Let's have a look up there. We created different play areas. That is one for the Native American or the indigenous peoples. This one down here is for the pioneer children. What you see wandering down the middle of that is a pioneer splash pad, which is what the Native Americans or indigenous peoples and the pioneers used to use when they got sick. This becomes our focus for phase 2A. And it's basically getting the entryway put together, coming in off of Fruitland Drive. And then the orange, yellowish line there is handicap access. Then we'll have Chicken Coop Trail up there, an orchard, and then flower gardens in the entryway and around, down that path. And we think we can do that this year with a lot of help from folks who've already pledged their assistance with equipment and so on and so forth. Now, The little dots there are coated, those are benches and tables. You can see kind of right in the area there, right above the chicken coop trail. There's a teaching station that we want to establish that gives a view of North and East Mountains, clear out to the Great Salt Lake, out over the valley. And educators have told us that will be a wonderful instruction point, because there's so many geology and geography things that they can teach right from that particular point. As well as in the hollows, there are a lot of natural things they can point out and teach. So it'll be very, very educational. Why do we want to do it? If you've never been through there, this place is spectacular. It deserves to be made more accessible to citizens, let them get greater knowledge of it. But more importantly, some of the things that we need to do. What did I do? Okay. Well, there we go. Some of the things that we'd like to do are tell some of the tales of the area. Now, Chicken Coop Trail, as barkers know, I think they had about 10,000 chickens up there at one time, you know, and handled commercial egg farm, you know, egg distribution there. But when I was a little kid, we had our own chickens, but everybody who didn't have chickens would go down to Barker's, and they're on the back porch or down the stairs. They put money in the jar and take the eggs they needed. And that's a significant part of our cultural heritage, I think, because it demonstrates the way that people work together in those days. What's been done to this point? Basically, a ton of things. This is probably our best volunteer. Many of you recognize Rod Southwick, who's a prominent landscaper, did the temple up in Brigham City and a number of other significant things. What needs to be done? Well, we still have some of this to be completed to make the area safe for immediate use, and a little more basic prep work. So you see, we pulled stuff off, and then the trails have been reinforced, as you can see there, so that they become nice pathways. We can't call them trails. If you call it a trail, according to the Forest Service, you have to make it handicap accessible, which would kill all the trees. So it's a pathway, and I keep forgetting to say that. Physical improvements are listed here. There's a ton of them. We're not going to go through them. And planning and research was completed. Hundreds of hours have gone into this. We've talked with Historical Society, folks who've lived here forever, checked with the Native American, the Shoshone tribe, which wintered up there, and just gathered a lot of information about the flora, the fauna, and the geography of the area. The RAMP grant report, you've had a chance to look at that going around. We were told by the two folks who administered it to put it in under museums, because this is really a living museum and teaching educational site for hands-on opportunities to learn. And I don't think that the museum committee ever caught the vision that what we were after. And so next year, we're going to have to carefully determine which route we try to go again. Didn't get funding this year. We're going to put in just in a couple of weeks, we'll be putting in an easy grant, an easy ramp grant for $2,500 to help us get started with this stuff. Some of these ideas require full approval by all city departments. For example, the little covered house up there, we'd like to use that as one of the coverings, actually as main covering for the two dual pavilion that we have decided to go on the island itself. And we can do that pretty easily, because you can just get the beams they use for Quonset huts, and then use the roofing, the very tough roofing fabric that they use for flat roofs that's white. and pulling up. These places are gonna look just like covered wagons, and we think kids will be really excited with that, with those kinds of things. A lot of things we can put there. One of the things is a natural amphitheater, which is mowable. And that's going to be right at the junction of the two, where the two streams kind of come together to the park. Some of the ideas for activity areas, gonna have benches, of course, and climbing things. This is the Pioneer Splash Pad, and it is gonna be a lot of fun. When the pioneers or the indigenous peoples wanted to cool down, they went to the stream, and this will replicate that. There are other things, some of these are taken down right in front of the Center Market, Farmington Plaza. We've sourced out locations for all of these things, Pioneer Stump Play, etc. This is the Westmoreland Park Recycling Water Play area that we'd like to have this be a recycling element that just goes so we're not using so much water and just recycling it through for the Pioneer Splash Pad. There'll be a walk the plank, wobbly log bridges, lots of, oops, let me get back here. Lots of those kinds of things. Now, we've got a full set of realistically achievable goals and optimistic goals. One of the things we're illustrating there is signs. We actually have a couple of those already made from a source that will provide them to us at really low cost. We're looking for the informational signs to be like the ones the Forest Service uses. They're on metal plating, and they have they have a 30-year warranty on them, not counting vandalism. Of course, that's pretty good. They're also a little expensive. Now, part of our fundraising is we're going to sell every one of the signs, every one of the flower beds, every one of the benches and tables at plus 40%. We're hoping to get them at cost, and in some cases, we'll get many of these things donated. And then the 40% goes into a perpetual maintenance fund. So the city's not going to be able to say we don't have the money to take care of this. The plus 40% on all these things should create enough to perpetually employ 2 full-time people whose sole duty is the park, along with other things. The signs, like I said, are really durable, pretty cool thing. Fundraising, we have a great approach to fundraising. We're going to approach, and once again, we can't do this till we get approval from the committee and the city council. We need conceptual approval, and then we can price out these things and take them to the big donors, the folks who have the money in their pockets, and we've identified about 50 some in North Ogden who have the means, and we'll develop a specialized approach for each one of them. The fellow who raised funds for the attorney who raised funds for the BYU Hawaii, it will help us with designing those particular target programs and how to approach people. He raised millions and millions and millions of dollars for what used to be Church College Hawaii. But the other thing we have that we're offering is if citizens put in 60 hours, that's equal to over $2,000 in terms of value, and they'll go on a legacy sign at the very entrance, so that it's not just the Brownings and the Eccles and so on who get recognized, but citizens who really want to pitch in and help. And we have some of them that are approaching that mark right now. We'll be able to take the kids to the park, and they'll be on it, and that's why it's kind of a legacy. It's not just a reserve, but it's a legacy. So they go there and say, "Hey, we helped do this. We helped do that." Let's see, go back here. I'm getting it here. How are we gonna make this happen? Well, with volunteers. Ads, this is out of the, North Ogden Connection. And they have been very supportive whenever we've approached them. And give us a big discount on what we purchase there. The other thing that we've done is we've approached a lot of the local businesses that give, and offer our volunteers coupons after they come and put in their time. Now they have to check in, they have to sign in, and they have to sign out so we can track it for our records for grant applications and so on. And Susan Clements does a really good job of that. But coupons are something extra. They go through and pick the ones they want. And these are all from local businesses. And what they are often is 2 for one, or 50% off, etc. What we told the local businesses is we don't want this to cost you money. We want to be able to cover your costs, so you're not losing anything on it. But it's fun to go to Great Harvest Bread, and buy a cookie, and they'll give you a slice of bread with topping on it and so on for free, or to Pizza Hut with a coupon and you buy one, you get one free. So there's a lot of really good things. Mrs. Kavanaugh's has a great deal too for us that's on there. Now, the next step we want to take with this is we want to put signage in every one of these companies that the coupon supporters, and we want to be sure that we get everybody who has something that they can market as a coupon donor, and we'll recognize them on the legacy sign also. But we want to place this business supports Barker Park up in each of the businesses, and this is every business in town, dentist office and everybody. And we'll keep them updated. We haven't decided on the design yet. There's one that we thought of that where Great Harvest would have their coupon up there at the top, along with the volunteers needed sign, etc., that goes in, and we'll change those all the time. As we need this week and this next week, so on and so forth. The other one is a similar thing. It's not quite as stylized for the individual business, but what it just says is our business is a proud supporter of, and then underneath it, we say August 20th between 7 and 11 a.m. meet behind the amphitheater, ring, boom, boom, boom. At some point, we're going to put on there, rather than meet here and so on, we'll put on there things that are sponsorships. So for example, I've got a dozen folks who want to buy a bench, okay? And we'll put those kinds of items up there and say, hey, you can buy this for X amount. And I've never seen a program like this anywhere else. I'm pretty sure that if we can get the full business community behind us, and once we get approval from this committee and the city council, then we'll be able to go to the businesses with something, rather than just a concept. And get those placed, and we'll also meet with the economic development folks. Who's the fellow here in the city that works with that, John? Economic development.
Terry Bexell is in charge of the committee.
Oh, committee, okay. We have some critical things that we need this committee to do. We need to get approval of the conceptual design that we've developed. The whole concept of heritage, of it being educational, of it being a hands-on experiential learning kind of a place, as well as a fun place. And like I say, even the games, and we'll get into that in just a minute or so, but even the games are going to be. We've done research into what the indigenous people used as games and recreation for their kids, what the pioneer folks used as recreation and so on for their children. And we'll be having areas over there where they can actually do the things that the pioneer kids or the indigenous people children did. It really is, when you put it together, this is kind of a natural logo. It's, you know, not the official one, but it follows with a three arcs that we have there in the park. It'll be an outdoor educational museum and an experiential learning and recreation area. Here's some of the ideas. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, that's the full build out plan there for the whole thing. But once again, we're only interested in the hollows and the entryway and Chivington Trail at this point in time. Okay. I sent you the wrong presentation with this.
So far, so good.
Yeah, the other one had a lot more detail in that, you know, including some of the games that Native American or indigenous peoples played, pioneers played, and so on. What's really interesting is that the pioneers had rope climbing things, but the Native Americans had tree climbing games. You know, and we of course are going to sell an informational sign that explains those kinds of things, you know, and that's how we're going to raise the money. You know, a lot of the money. And then of course we have big donors we're after, and Mayor and Blake, I think, are going to approach a lot of the bigger folks, you know, Eccles and the foundation and so on. Okay, I think that should give you kind of an idea of where we're headed and what we've done. We tried to combine the Grassley plan that was approved by the council in 2002 with the 2015 plan that was never approved, but a lot of people liked it and so on. A lot of work went into those two things. And so we tried to combine those two concepts, but tailor it toward educational, informational, experiential learning kind of a setting. And so, yeah, that's the rant we're in. 160 some bucks to get that baby copy done.
Just for all the copies, huh?
Yeah, just for all the copies.
That's,
Say nothing, yeah.
yeah.
My wife was mad at me. I took all the free time on the first 4 days of a Panama Canal cruise. Every time I had free time, I was working on that grant proposal. She was not a happy camper, but that's okay. I made up for it after we were done with that. Okay, I'm happy to take any questions from anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
I do too.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sam.
My first question is, you talked about phase 2A and, you know, full 2. Does the Barker Park plan on doing phase 3 or 4?
Well,
Or are they only, is
Well-
the full, everyone see 3? Only
this
2?
is such a massive project. We're trying to take it in increments.
But in the future,
Yeah,
Are they-
oh
are
yeah, we'll be willing, you know, we have a concept to be building the old Sagebrush Academy with the rattlesnakes that used to come up between the boards, you know, in there, and you know, and a number of other things for the north. This will give us, I think, that the north side of that is about double the island area that we're working on now. And yeah, our intent is to stick with it till we're done.
Sure.
But gotta phase it.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta phase
Right.
it.
Could you tell me what a 501c is? By
501c.
definition.
Okay,
Or whatever this
well,
number
to
is.
the best of my knowledge, it's a nonprofit organization
Mhm.
that has clearly some tax advantages because it's donations and it's
Yeah.
volunteer hours and it's all types of things that are as defined by the IRS. So the Bill Barker Park 501c3 is not a North Ogden institution. It's a group of volunteers. The main one being Blake Severing that created that 501c3, and clearly he's been collecting donations, as was mentioned about the cash donations and the man-hour hours that have been tracked. So I'm not like John would have a better definition than I do, but that's my definition of it.
That's correct. They call it a 501c3 because it's not a 501c4 or a 501c2. That's the tax code that's the definition it falls under. But that's exactly right, JD.
One of the things that we'll be able to do with this, it's my understanding in talking with Royce Richards, who's on that committee, is we'll be able to credit a company like Parsons, for example, who comes in to do the parking lot for the full value of that. You know, not just their cost, but for the full value of it, which can be a pretty nice write-off. We can credit individuals if they want for their donated hours, you know, and give them a receipt for the work, just like the Desert Industry does for donations and so on you make there that you can use on your tax. We're hoping to get everything done at cost, if not donated. All the benches, all the tables, this, that, and the other, at cost, if not donated. And then we'll sell them to people for the full cost of it. And that's where we're gonna get the maintenance fund money from. This is not like a soccer park where you turn on the water, you know, a couple times a week, you know, this is gonna be a high maintenance park. And
I had several other questions too.
Yeah, and go ahead.
So how large is this nonprofit organization? How many people?
There's
been
a
on the committee.
There's a committee of 7, the mayor's on it, Royce is on it, Blake's on it.
Royce who?
Blake Severing's on it also.
Royce who? I know.
Royce Richards. He's an attorney CPA. So when people get in trouble with the IRS, go to see him.
And you're obviously on it.
No, I'm not on that.
Okay.
I'm not on the money side of it. I'm just on the dumb labor side of it.
So you're not technically a board member of the 501c3?
No, and I don't want to be. I want to work where the hands-on stuff is and where we can see real progress. And I'll help raise money for the 501c3, but I don't want to be on the board. I've sat on enough boards and gone over enough financial reports in my life that I don't want to do that anymore.
Next question is, do you guys have a cost estimate of just the island of what you're expecting it to cost?
We're expecting this island area and so on, and this is probably a low estimate, but we think with donations and discounts and so on and so forth, you know, that we'll be able to probably get it done for around 3 million. And everybody snickers at that, but you know,
That's just for the island.
yeah, just for the phase 2, the whole thing phase 2.
So the whole thing basically a chicken coop.
Yeah, right, yeah. The phase 2 is the island and the chicken coop. That's right.
And is your goal to get 100% funding for this 3 million, or are you asking the council or city for any buy-in?
We hope the city will come through. There's not a lot of cash on hand in the city budget, but we hope the city will come through for us on, for example, helping with the engineering cost. And maybe working a discount with the engineering firm, you know, for a tax credit. And we would pay it through the 501c3. We're hoping the city would work with us on some of the excavation issues. You know, they have the equipment, and some of the stuff that we've done by hand would take, and it's taken a number of people days to do. We could probably do in a half a day with some of the powered equipment. And so we're hoping they'll look in that way. We don't expect much money from the city. We don't.
So, the city has a rotation of. We're an informal committee, so go ahead and ask your question.
Now, yeah, you look at me, but I'm just a peon.
I know,
JD's the.
And-
I just thought you'd nod if I could or couldn't.
And just for the record, just state your name.
My name is Jeff Johnson. I am
Okay.
married to Lisa, who is a marker, part of this clan, so. We live over in Pleasant View. But Lisa owns part of the farm. What I was gonna say is 501c3s, I've helped set 3 of them up during my 2 careers. They're basically, in a nutshell, a way for you to raise funds, donations, and you can seek grants through them. So there is grant money out there that you can seek and obtain.
Mhm.
And if you want to, the simple nutshell answer is it removes the IRS entanglements. So it really does. If you do it right, you stay inside the parameters of the 501c3.
Yeah.
You don't have any IRS entanglements. You can do it without having, you just got to fill out a form every year for the IRS saying you did it right. If you want to see what grant funds can do for a park, go out to the Smith Park just west of Smith and Edwards. All over outside there, they have signs about what grants paid for what part of that park. And it's a whole lot easier to raise grant money than it is to raise donations.
Yeah.
The grants are out there. You just got to sell it to the people with the grant money and say, we're worthy. And, you know, you talk $3 million. I've seen grants 5-6 times that size.
Good.
So there's money out there.
Okay,
I would just say, don't settle into trying to raise donations.
okay.
Look at the grant avenue too, because there's a lot more lucrative.
Well, would you be willing to join the team and help us out a little bit, just in direction?
I'm not a North Ogden resident. Is that
Doesn't
legal?
matter, you're fighting with the bar, there, people from everywhere are gonna come to this thing. It's-
Okay.
It's gonna be an attraction for teachers and school buses for the kids and so on and so forth.
You know, just an editorial note, the very first 501c3 I set up, we applied for a grant and got $597,000.
Well,
By just writing the grant request correctly.
we're gonna need your expertise.
Okay, well, thanks for your
The
comment.
only
Yeah,
one
I
of the
just-
things I've ever done in higher education and,
Donations are great,
Yeah,
grants,
Yeah.
better.
great.
well,
And go look at Smith's Park and see the grant signs out there.
well, and one of the things that it's an open discussion, we really want to do is build community ownership of this thing. We want the businesses and the local citizens to feel like they're a part of it. And that's really good for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is vandalism, because if I put in sweat equity, putting this thing together and somebody starts messing around and I see them, I'm on their case like some kind of skunk. You know, it just, that ownership, that feeling of ownership, it is so important, I think. And we're working hard to get that.
Now, the one thing I was gonna mention that I thought about during your presentation is, yes, funds are limited and it is difficult to raise millions of dollars for these types of things. But the city is currently on a rotation of how much we can spend in each park to, for example, replace the park equipment. And so if we plan far enough in advance, we could, approach the council and make a presentation to them and say, in 2026 or 2025, whatever the year is, we want $100,000 to go towards this or that in this island. And if we take it in manageable requests and manageable chunks, then it should be doable. I think we could probably figure that out. So the combination of the grants that were mentioned, combination of the donations, of course, and then a combination of some buy-in from the city council will eventually get us to where we want to be. But we kind of, the price tag to get it all completed has been so high for so many years that we've almost been paralyzed, like not wanting to move forward because it's like, you just can't even fathom where to start. So that's a big part of why I think we're here, receiving your presentation.
Well, and I appreciate that perspective from the city, because it is, that's why we got phase 2A and phase 2B and phase 3A and 3B, you know, on the thing, but, we have a difficult time pricing stuff out until we get approval for the concept. We need conceptual approval from you folks and from the city council before we can even price this out. I'm not gonna go lifetime, who we have a good in with out there and say, we want you to sponsor this play area because with your recycled stuff, you make all of this stuff and you warranty it. So, this will be a showcase for you to tell people, come look at the kinds of things we can do, you know, and have them do that at cost or even at lower than cost. But we can't go to them unless we have approval for the concept. I can't go to somebody and say, I want you said you want a bench, here it is, this is what the cost is, you can pay it on installments or.
I had a question on you put an advertisement in the Connection magazine at one point for one of the cleanups.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they gave you a discounted rate to do that, but the city is paying for a certain amount of pages in that
Okay.
connection.
Yeah.
And I don't know if John is open to this or the rest of the council is open to this, but if we have things like that, to me, it's a no-brainer that maybe the 501c3 can send over the announcement and the council approves it and then we put it in there. John, is that, what
would-
are your thoughts on that?
I think that would fall under the discussion about what we're talking about with the in-kind donations and things. I think this, where it's a city facility, it definitely would be on the easier side of the line on that clearly is gonna work. As opposed to, you know, if it was another 501c that maybe was that, I don't know,
Yeah,
raising money for a religious organization might not be something the council would be willing. So, but I think, yes, this would qualify because it's a city facility with a volunteer group involvement.
I think, yeah, that was my first thought, is it sounds super reasonable. How many pages do we have as a city with our contribution to the magazine?
It's 6.
So if they had
or
a quarter
5.
of a page or a half of a page in any given month, if they came to us, it shouldn't be a big deal to get that.
Yeah, we pretty much fill up 4 that are just with our standard stuff, and then we do an article or 2 to fill up the extra. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like, next time you have the idea to put that into the magazine, make sure you come to the council and let's figure that out, because I would hate for you guys to draw down your funding on those type of things that, I mean, it's the city's park. It's a city's park, and I think the collaboration with the 501c3 would be very natural to offer that up. So, but I'm just one city councilman, maybe someone feels differently, and I'll pull them to see what they say, but that seems reasonable.
This gives me entree for 2 things. One, and I don't know what the cost would be, but we would love to put a schedule of what projects are going to be held when in the utility bills that go out. And I don't know if that's even possible, but you know.
Well, I can say kind of not possible because, well, you could put just a few lines in the utility bill. So every once in a while, the city will put 2 to 3 lines that are just printed in the utility bill, but we can't stuff inserts in there. It's not possible with the third party that we have.
Yeah.
So, if
Can
you
we-
had a small announcement, we might be able to consider that,
Yeah.
but
Can we check and see what an insert, you know, if they could do an insert?
well, we kind of, John, we pretty much know that they can't do inserts, right? Because this is like a third party company that does our billing.
Yep.
And
We can ask it. The cost goes up quite a bit, and not everyone would get it because not everyone gets a paper,
Right.
a paper
A lot
one.
of it's electronic, okay. The second thing that I want to make really clear is, our intent is not to go off, you know, like crazy people on this whole thing. Everything we do, we've already had the public works people and the public safety people over giving us advice about what to do with, so on and so forth. But we'll do all of this hand in glove with all the city agencies, with the public safety people, as well as with the public works folks. And we'll be hand in glove with the city on those kinds of things, and with this committee, whenever there's, if there's any change at all in what in conceptually what we're doing. Of course, we'll run it by this committee and try to get approval. But as we have major things that are happening, we'll let the committee, know about it and keep you informed. And Blake being on the committee would be a real positive thing, I think, for that. But the official city recognition and, this committee and the city council are just essential to get this thing off the ground. Because we can't price it because we don't know if that's what we can do. So,
More questions?
yeah, you look questioning.
I just don't quite know how to ask them. So
Just muddle along. That's what I do.
that's generally my style, is to plow ahead.
Good.
So if I understand right, their committee really has no real authority as far as decision making. That's left up to this committee and the city council.
That's the thing. Yes, that's
That's why
why,
this committee was.
that's
formed.
why this committee was, there was so much work that was done back in 2015, 2016 with all these renderings and stuff. And that was part of a committee at some point. And so now we're just trying to make sure that what the 501c3 is doing, we're working together here. But it is true that we need to, one of our next phases as a committee is we come up and we say, this is exactly what we want to do, city council. This is how much money we want to request to go into this. Here's exactly what it's going to be. What are your thoughts? And so hopefully get a lot of support from the council and move forward. But what was happening a lot is Grant and crew was doing all the cleanups, doing all the initiatives, doing a lot of great stuff. But, without that connection to the council officially, we can't, and it's also kind of a liability thing as well. If the 501c3 goes too far out of the bounds or too rogue with doing certain things, they might set up pieces of equipment that could, potentially be dangerous for people to play on. And
Yeah.
the city might end up getting sued because that piece of equipment isn't approved by this or that, So that's where I see the connection of the council being involved is I want to go through several more months of these meetings and get to a point where we have an actual presentation to the council. And then they give us the thumbs up to say, yes, we approve of what you're doing. And hey, we even want to give funding of however much money for 2025 or 2026 or whatever it is.
Well, until we get conceptual approval, we can't go into the specifics. We need to have that to open the door for us to then put it together the way that we're outlining here. We'll not be able to get into specifics of that because I'm only go out, so I don't even visit Lifetime folks people one time. And I want to know that what we're doing is okay. I know they can produce the benches there. I talked to a company in England that would do the whole thing for cost, but then we have to ship it over from England. So that shut that.
In the last meeting, and we were questioning the reasoning behind your pickleball courts in this phase specifically.
Okay, and that is contingent upon the pickleball people who said they'll raise the money. But actually, pickleball is a derivative of badminton. And pioneers played badminton. They didn't play tennis because they couldn't afford to level out the ground and so on and so forth. But badminton was really a popular. And pickleball, if you look in the history of it, really is a derivative of badminton. So that's the stretch to put it in there.
Okay,
But if they don't raise the money, we're not gonna raise the money for that.
so what you're saying is the pickleball courts are contingent upon 100% donations, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
So if we vote on your conceptual drawings and say, yes, you can put in pickleball courts, there's a chance that you wouldn't put them in if you don't get them donations.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that's really on there.
Okay, so that's the only thing that's,
There's nothing else there that we don't think we could do.
Okay.
We don't.
And remember that there's a chance that the city council says, we want to put pickleball courts here so badly. that we're going to have that in our budget.
Yeah.
You know, but just because of the way of where everything is with the budget being tight and the economy, et cetera, the chances are low to squeak that in anytime soon. We do have a pickleball court going in right now in, Lowman View Park, which will be really cool.
No, you
So,
got, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you know, it's like, if you have that on the concept, it can be there, and then it has a big asterisk next to it that says contingent on donations,
Right.
and it's essentially going to be grass if it's not there, you know, something like that.
And it's not gonna be Kentucky bluegrass.
Yeah, the natural,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be more than natural.
Actually,
Actually,
I'm allergic to.
yeah, I was. I used that excuse, but I never got out of doing chores. That
Well,
makes
neither
you
did I either,
sneeze.
but I still, those native black grass that I'm allergic to,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's fine.
Uh,
Been my whole life, I can deal with this.
yeah,
you get
USU
the
have,
wind the right way, it's gonna really,
The orchard grass is the bad stuff.
yeah. Mary, the docent, has connections at USU, and they actually have some grass that they have developed that won't get reedy and so on, like our old orchard grass used to do.
Yeah.
So time wise, when would you anticipate we look at the full conception and
So
make any
it-
recommendations?
I think it's a little difficult to say, but my first guess of a goal would be by fall time, we have a good concept ready to go to the council, and we present it to the council, say, here's what we want to do. And that gives us plenty of time to the next budget cycle that they're going to have to plug that into. So that's kind of what my first instinct is telling me.
Then we'll lose the summer.
Well, I don't know. Other than the cleanups, John, do you think there's much that can be done this summer at this point, or what's your
So-
instinct?
One thing that's we've been talking about is the Chicken Coop Hill.
Mm.
You know, would it be possible to tackle that area, knowing that it's maybe a little less long-term permanent stuff, meaning like the trail would likely be gravel or, you know, things like that, as opposed to on the island, you're gonna be doing some concrete and some parking, and so that was one concept that maybe has been floated around.
So I think we could do the orchard and the flower gardens there. You know, on that and the entryway. Without the parking, if we can get it engineered, we'll level it. To the point where we'll be able to just put gravel down and, you know, and they can pave the parking for us. Or maybe we can just use it gravel at this point, but,
Would you have an initial estimate of what your cost is going to be to do that chicken coop stuff, some of the non-permanent type of stuff that would be in there?
yeah, that's gonna run us, get the trees and the plants, and I'm gonna insist on this, I want a noxious weed garden. Which we'll have to cover both down and up, you know,
The
but,
last 17 years, I've taken my shovel and I've dug out noxious weeds in the hall.
yep, no, but that's why we gotta keep it
Every
nice
year.
and contained. But we can talk about how Indian tobacco, for example, is not its real name, but it had medicinal and ceremonial purposes.
You're not getting rid of that anyway. There's 10 zillion seeds in the soil there.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can do as in Barker Park other than cleanup without approval this summer?
No, because we need conceptual approval and basically for the hollows and Chicken Coop Hill. When Rod and Mary put together their estimates of the cost of those kinds of things, we were assuming that we get volunteer labor, which we will. We were under 100,000 to finish that area off. And we think we can raise the money for, you know, we can raise the money for that. You know, we go down to Hal Rents and cut a deal to get one of their little stand-on front end loaders and clear off the cement up there. But we're gonna need some heavy equipment to deal with the slope, you know, to get it ready for the orchard and for and for the flower gardens that are gonna go in.
So would you and the 501c3 have enough to show a concept to the council in the next month or two that you come to us and say, are you okay with us to get started on this, and then you get going, or is there still quite a bit of work to get a concept
I
ready?
think we've got a concept right there.
Okay.
That outlines, the handicap access portion of it. It outlines, where we need flowers and orchard and so on. And it shows where we want to put benches and tables up there. If you've watched that, you know that whole area, Chick Butte Trail doesn't look anything like it did a couple of years ago, you know.
I grew up on that farm. I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah.
Should it be called Chicken Coop Pathway, or is it?
No,
a trail?
that'll be a
It
trail.
will be a trail.
That's
Okay.
handicap accessible.
Okay, because
See,
you'll bring in gravel or
Yeah,
whatever.
let me tell you what my real goal is with this whole thing. Come October, around Halloween time, I think we can have that whole area done. Now, there's some things that we gotta have the approval and so on to go ahead, because we need to run water over to irrigate things. You know, there's a Pine View access not too far away on the west side there that we can do. We need to run electricity to handle the water miser irrigation system we're gonna put in. The folks on the committee who priced it out and said we can do that. Now, if push comes to shove, I can go down to Howlands and run one of those things and clean off the pads, and doggone it, we've got contractors that have trenchers, or we can go rent a trencher, and we have folks who are qualified to run that, and we'll run the trenches for the water and the power and everything else. We can do that.
So if the thing that we're most worried about is not being able to do anything this summer, it sounds like we need to take this rendering that's right here. I guess wish we could show it online. Well, maybe we could, but it's what page is that on your presentation? Right there, yes. So that's what, for people that are online, that's what we're talking about right now. So it might be that we take this concept to the council within maybe next council meeting or two from now, and say, hey, this is what the 501c3 has proposed, and it has been found that this one will be the easiest one to do right now financially. And and we can just get an approval there. Would you come to the council and ask for,
Sure.
this is the challenging thing, would you come to the council and ask for any money for this portion?
No. We need conceptual approval. We've already got some of the donations and so on lined up.
Okay.
I know a couple farmers that have augers that dig down so they can plant the trees,
And would any of the water stuff mess with what Max is doing right now?
No.
On that portion,
Nothing in that area except the access that he gets that goes through the middle of
that he drives up.
that he drives up there, and we can do that. He can get over that, and still have that handicapped access trail there. We just give a little bump for him.
Okay.
Fine.
The elect,
He's not in favor of anything.
No, he's not in favor of crossing that with a bump to
Yeah,
knock the hay out of the way.
yeah. Well, we'll try to make it as smooth as we can.
the electrical that
He
you
also
mentioned,
has other ways to access that.
the electrical that you mentioned.
Yeah.
How big of a deal is that? What help would you need from the city, if any? I mean, you need some help there.
Anything electrical, it'll need to be a commercial electrician that installs it. It can't be anybody but that. Even in our own buildings, we require commercial electricians, so.
So it's reasonable to
But,
believe.
but we can dig the trench.
Yeah, you could
Carry
dig the
the
trench, lay the conduit,
Right.
but all the wiring has to
Right,
be, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So if anything, there could be at the presentation here in a month or in a couple weeks or whenever, there could be a conversation that a commercial electrician might have to be contracted for this.
Or may donate,
Okay,
yeah,
all right, so we'll get there when we get there, I guess. It's just a thought.
you know,
So,
Hadley's that have a great depth of support in this, you know,
Okay.
in this area and so on. And Alan and the kids, I'm sure would do it.
got it.
And they're commercial.
Okay, so, I don't want to cut things too short, but I also do want to keep the meeting rolling, so how many more questions, do you have any? I know.
I do have a couple.
Yeah, that's
Go
fine.
ahead. Yeah.
Let's try to get through those. Let's try to knock through the questions here in the next 10 minutes or so, and then we'll move on to the next item.
Could you help me understand how many picnic tables and benches you envision up here along the top of that hill?
We actually.
I know I see 30 picnic tables, 45 benches, but I think that's for both.
Yeah, that's,
Both parts,
that's for both of them. Let's, you know,
Are the red dots picnic tables?
well, some of them are picnic tables and some
Tables and
are
benches.
benches. You know, when you blow this thing up,
Right.
it shows the different
All
colors.
of you, I'm trying to get a copy of this, so all the people on the committee have what he has in his file.
Sure.
Yeah. Let me look here and see. I
And
put that.
my real question,
Well, here I can.
it's never been my nature to rock the boat. It just is not my nature. But one of my questions is, would be finishing Chicken Coop Hill be more family friendly and advantageous for the city of North Ogden than to finish that at first?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, probably, maybe
Because-
not.
Because this fall, when we get this thing done, we're gonna have a pumpkin carving contest up there the week before Halloween. And we'll invite the whole folk, you know, everybody in the community to come up and take their kids along that, so on and so forth. We need to just make sure we don't interfere with the city's trunk and treat over at the water park. But yes, that, we want it to be accessible and that portion of it
I
would be
understand
accessible.
it's accessible.
Yeah.
I just envision small parents with children who want to go to a park to play.
Mhm. Well,
I think
I
it's-
love the whole concept of the island.
yeah.
I really do. And I vision
Yeah.
families going there to play and to spend time off.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and hopefully this will give them an incentive to, you know, to come and help. But, we went to the USU Botanical Gardens out, the wet space there around Kaysville. And they had displays of scarecrows that different organizations had put in, and that place was jammed. It was really jammed, you know, and I think this would be a fun thing, particularly if we can get it advertised well in all of our little city places. That kids will want to enter their things, and, you know, those who are pros will want to enter theirs, and some will just want to do it for fun, and, you know. Southwick, you know, who is on our committee, his ward did a similar kind of thing for a number of years. And it was really very successful. So Rod, that's where that idea came from.
And I feel like doing the chicken coop area is purely out of necessity at this point to do something. Because a good example is on that island portion, we have to give sufficient notice
11
on
months.
the farming side of things, so.
Yeah.
You know, that would be in the middle of the summer, so he'd start and then have to quit halfway, you know, so. It almost makes no sense to get started on this, and we're gonna have budget requests on this section. I have a feeling, I think the
It's a
scope
big-
and the size of this,
That's
I
good.
believe that the city council is going to have to approve something, whether it's
Yeah.
100,000, 200,000, 300,000, whatever. There might be something that's gonna have to be approved for that section, whereas it sounds like nothing or very little for the chicken coop to get going.
Very little for the chicken coop trail and so on.
But to your point, it would be great to get that part done first, the island portion, just as it does, to me, looks a little bit more fun, but this,
Oh,
this
it'll
would be
be
a
a
good
lot
start.
more
chicken
fun.
coop.
We'll have the hollows done too,
Is,
you know, which will be fun for the kids to walk through.
is number one, the west parking lot with the 44 spaces in your 2A
Yeah.
pricing?
Yeah, and we're anticipating that we can get that engineered and then leveled to grade and gravelled.
And that would be in your first initial one before fall, is that correct?
Yeah.
That first parking lot?
Yep. We'd like to get that done as part of that entryway Chicken Creek Trail.
Which parking lot, where, okay,
The bottom.
okay, so this would be,
Yeah,
okay,
the road that goes into the back of the energy.
okay, so it might be like a gravel and it might actually have painted, you know,
Yeah,
spray painted lines or something.
You know, I've talked to a couple of asphalt companies, and if we can get it to that level, then they'll come in and finish it when they have lulls in their work cycle. You know, and they'll come in for practically nothing and just put the asphalt in. So that's what they say. We'll see. I'd like to hold them to that.
And what is your road base looking like on the accessible trails?
It'll be it'll make handicap needs.
I mean, is it like a gravel accessible trail or a concrete?
No, well, it's gonna be gravel for this point in time. And it's gonna be a little difficult for the wheelchairs and so on. But with assistance, they'll be able to get up with it. We're gonna try to have it packed down.
We anticipate having some engineering and stuff going on before any of that goes in, so we can have that conversation.
Yeah, and the engineering's got to improve to make sure Max can get up and go okay. But, you know, Max is using that ground for the cost of water. And so he's getting a good deal.
It's also part of the contract that his parents made at the city.
That's right, yeah, that he would get to use it for that cost and, yeah. So. And this chicken coop doesn't interfere with anything that Max is doing, not at all, except maybe a little bump in that area.
Did you have another question? Oh, okay. I don't want to keep you back either. Okay.
I've been so touching when we ask questions that you don't want to ask them.
No, that was my main one.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So Grant, thank you so much. And if you would have been at the first meeting, I was kind of like, I was struggling through that first meeting because it's like, this is everything that Grant gave me and, you know, here's what we're doing. And, but the level of detail that you were providing was night and day better than what I provided last time. So thank you. So, and please stick around for the next item, just because I wanted to make sure you had some feedback on it as well. So the next item on the agenda is we were going to review the parking lot rendering that was given to us back in 2015 or 2016 by the initial group. And I already went through conversations with Scott Hess, our planning director. And other than like having to take it to the next level, if we approve this concept, it's basically what he is recommending. So John, can you pull that online and on the screen to show? It was the one that should be in the packet. The latest and greatest parking lot. And there were some questions last month that we met about what the parking would look like, because in one of your renderings, more recent renderings, Grant, we had on-street parking that was just pull in and pull out.
Well, it was actually more than on-street parking. There's enough. We put enough room there so that it would be you'd be able to pull in, you'd be able to back up in the parking space area and head out in your direction.
Okay.
We wanted it to go that deep. But part of the reason for that is this approach to parking takes a lot of area. You know, it really does, whereas that other one wouldn't take as much. The other advantage of having it spread along from the north all the way down to the south side is it lets people park closer to where they want to be. Some are going to want to start at the north end of the trail. Some are going to want to go right out into the play area in the island area. Some are going to want to go to the south trail because that's the easiest access to the little natural amphitheater down there and so on. And so our thought was we wouldn't have a big slab of asphalt or concrete interfering with the play area. It would be a little more contiguous as a play area, and it will allow people to back out and go either way,
Okay.
you know.
Well, one of the things that Scott had mentioned to me when I brought this up to him is that concept that you provided, which isn't a bad concept by any means, it's not something that is currently in North Ogden's code. So if we were to go with that approach, it might give us a big snag in that we have to have it go through planning commission and through the city council to get that type of thing approved for our city. Whereas this concept is as it is shown right there, would be fully approved. And I do understand what you're saying about, you know, trying to limit the amount of the park appearing to be a, you know, concrete jungle type of thing, but that's the initial, I didn't get a lot of appetite from the planning director to do that type of parking for several reasons.
Yeah, let me respond to that very quickly. If we needed to put a little barrier, I think, John, you were telling me that was required between where the parking was and the street, we could plug that in easily. Second, because of Max Barker's contract, you know, it was part of the agreement, you're not gonna be able to put that in for a year or two. You know, because that will totally interfere with his irrigation and everything else.
Lyman Barker actually farms that part.
Yeah, does he? Okay. Oh, okay, good.
But the same concept, right?
Yeah, the same
That it would
concept.
interrupt, yeah.
Yeah, it would interrupt the, you know, the farming and.
It might be just as simple as going and talking to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a lot of hay out there.
Yeah. Or, whereas, the other approach, yeah, it's gonna be at least 11 months before you do it anyway, so.
Well, if I remember,
You know, we're not gonna break a pick on that. That's not a, there's advantages to doing it our way that we really like.
Yeah.
But.
if I remember from reading the room in last meeting, first of all, as I recall, Scott Barker having his planning commissioner hat on, which he recently took off, but he had that in his mind, and he initially was like, oh, well, he already knew that couldn't be done under the current code. And so he kind of raised a hand like, hey, I don't think we can do this. And so that's why I went to Scott to just say, hey, what can?
Yeah.
So I guess I think that this is how we're going. I do think that this is how the parking lot will probably have to go. And I guess I just want to make sure from committee members that are here, is it okay that we head in this direction? Because if we don't head in this direction, it's going to be a lot of extra red tape between planning commission and city council to do things along the road, like it was shown from the 501c3. So I just wanted to get your committee thoughts.
I live right across the street.
Right,
I know that piece of property very well.
very well, yeah. You have a nice house over there.
Thank you.
Where all the people from Oak Lawn Park cut through.
There's not very many cats. I think if that parking lot's there, you still have room for a pioneer playground. You still have room for a Native American playground. There's still room, I think, for what I mentioned last time. We need more picnic areas
Right,
and covered ramada
right.
for families to come and enjoy.
Yeah.
There's still room for the native garden, the plants. And if we wanted to put in that little splash pad, which the one you put up there, I thought was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
There's still room for all of that.
Oh, yeah.
They may have to walk a little bit further, but bottom line, that's not a long walk anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, from one corner down to the next corner is only 100 yards.
Right, and then that'll be handicap accessible. For sure, anyway, so, yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that rendering.
Sarah?
I don't have a problem. I think it's easier to go with code than to change code.
Always.
I do agree with that.
There you go.
So I think that we're going to head in this direction, Grant.
Okay.
And an exciting side benefit to having this parking lot, you know, in the next few years is when stuff is inevitably happening at the amphitheater that's actually there now.
Right,
That is additional parking for those type of things where people can park in there and walk down the trail to get to it. So
Yeah.
there is that side benefit, when events are going on.
Mhm.
So, I don't think anything else needs to be discussed on that, but I did want to let you know, Grant, that I did the due diligence with Scott and
Okay.
and this is probably kind of where we're gonna go in that direction, so.
Well, and my background is if it's a code thing, we can change that, so that's okay, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I just think, I think of all
Yeah.
the loops and all the extra loops that are gonna have
Oh,
to
yeah.
jump through.
No,
So that's just the way my
We're
mind's thinking.
fine, yeah, no.
So that's great.
You're realistic.
No, not, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know how realistic I am.
Yeah.
So anyways, next item is just any comments, general comments from the committee, or staff. And, I guess maybe with any comments there, I'm just really trying my best to have something productive for each meeting. So if you have any good ideas I'm gonna be thinking about it, but if you have any good ideas right now, this is probably where we should go with discussion in the next meeting. I think it's a thing too. So thoughts, comments, suggestions?
First, I would thank Grant for all the work you've done on
I second that,
it.
thanks.
Please don't feel like I'm the opposing voice.
No,
I'm
no,
not.
no, no.
I'm not. But I really do appreciate all the work you've done.
I think that, I wanted to be prepared for this meeting and I wanted to acknowledge this group, of what they thought. I want to know their thoughts. I also wanted to know the presentation of the last group. So I did listen to the entire presentation. I got a lot of insight of what the family, thought it should be. The stories were very nice, their memories are important, I think. I think one thing that struck me was that how many times they said a family park, especially the Barkers. They wanted to, have these cultural aspects and stuff like that, but their main goal was to be a family park. And I think we should consider that. They really wanted it to be, family oriented, a place that people will come in community, not just learning, but something that our community would come out to regularly. I think that's a good direction that we should appreciate and put into perspective. And they did have some things like, on the first plan, they did, even the Barkers talked about the pickleball courts before pickleball was, a big thing. And
It was cutting edge when they were talking.
it was. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of it. Pickleball works here, not on the island, but over here.
Yeah.
There's plenty of them.
So I think it's worth looking at all the plans and not just saying you have the money and you're going to do it, so we're gonna go with your plan. So I think it's something to consider of what the overall vision is and not just going for the cheapest option or the one that someone's gonna do for us.
There's some great and thoughtful comments, and out of curiosity, how many hours of meetings did you listen to from back in the day? Did you go through quite a bit?
No, John actually found the thing for me,
Okay,
so.
it was like an hour, 2 hours,
It was
something like
it was an hour presentation.
that? Okay, awesome.
So,
I'll have to, I wanna go through that again too, so I'll ask John about that.
yeah. so too.
Cause I sent you the audio, right? So
Yeah.
you could send it to everyone, cause it was
Oh, yeah.
about
just
3
send it
months
out.
before we started doing YouTube.
So
Okay,
it's just audio,
That isn't good.
but it is an hour and it talks about the committee members. They have what their vision is, the committee members, and then the family has an aspect. I thought that was really good too.
love it. Okay,
Can I
Right.
just add one thing?
go ahead.
Our plan is to scale. What the 2015 plan is not to scale. And so we have as many picnic benches and tables and so on and so forth as they had, but it doesn't look as big because it's to scale. And I just want to make that point. What we tried to do is the committee was consider the Grassley plan, which was the only one formally approved by the city, in the 2015 plan. And we tried to combine the elements of both with the heritage reserve kind of concept. So,
Good point.
thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, I don't have anything else to add, so let's go ahead and adjourn our, do we have a?
May I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, as long as it doesn't last much longer than 10 minutes, because I'm getting ready.
20 seconds.
Okay,
The three of you comprise the entirety of the committee?
that's a good question, so you would think maybe, but we have two members that are not present right
Okay.
now. Councilman Blake Severing is a member of this committee,
Okay.
he had an obligation tonight.
Okay,
And then also, Scott Barker is a member of the committee officially as well.
okay.
And, since there's not a lot of, this isn't a city council or planning commission type of meeting, so that's why we feel pretty comfortable opening it up to,
Yeah.
public that wants to kind of comment throughout the meeting. I'm totally okay with that.
John's role?
City manager, North Ogden city manager. and
Technology
I
support.
know who you are. I just didn't make the connection.
IT specialist for
That,
that.
yeah, that can be outside a hold of you.
Yeah,
And Grant's position.
good question.
Interested in that.
Yeah, but what, he seems to be carrying a lot of weight with what's happening in the park.
Yeah, the Bill Barker Park team, I'm the co-chair of that with Blake, although, Blake's busy and I usually get most of the stuff.
Who else is on that team?
Let's see, we have, that's lots out with, Mary, actually, I can't remember, Susan, Clemens, Mary, Susan Plant, she represents kind of a UFU and what piece of it. Susan Clemens is from the Historical Association and carries very down with us. We have Tim Billings, he's got a great job with it. He gets the approval, so he put it in over that one part of the lease. That's
Let, let me add a little, I think, where I think maybe some information might be helpful is, we had the city doing what we were doing and Bill Barker Park was doing what they're doing. And this group is meant to come together and say, hey, let's get everyone on the same page and have a discussion. And it's partly, and no offense to Grant and Blake and their enthusiasm, but it's partly to just make sure that someone isn't going this way at 100 miles an hour and we're not connecting. And so they've been very good about saying, oh yeah, let's talk, let's figure it out. And that was the reason this group was put together.
Bill Barker Park, is it a sanctioned city organization or just a community volunteer organization?
It's a community volunteer organization. It is completely separate from the city officially, so they are their own thing. So that's, yeah, it's just.
Is there anybody from the Barker family on your committee?
Yeah, Peggy's on there, Scott's on there.
Okay.
Peggy and Scott are both on there.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Peggy's been a great resource.
Okay.
Boy, a lot of it.
That helps me a lot with context here, so I won't be, I'm trying to piece it all together tonight. I'm trying to figure out what it was, so. Well, thank you, all of you, for what you're doing, everybody. This is a neat project. I would tell you something, at the end of here, Far West City put together a park as big as Barker's Park in about a year and a half's time. Because, and I think if I was you, I've been in city government for 25 years and state government for 17. So I spent 43 years in government. Understand this. First thing I would do if I was involved in this is I wouldn't rebuild the wheel. I wouldn't remake it. I'd go knock on Far West door and say, how'd you do this?
Right.
And which way could you point us that would help us? Because if you go out and look at that Smith's Park, it's got a lake on it, it's got a rodeo ground on it, it's got two great big playgrounds that are incredible. And a dozen other amenities, including 4 pickleball parks and sports and everything else. They put that together in a year and a half, and they did it with with grant funding, and with some corporate input. And I'm just saying it can be done. I would, in my experience in state and city government, when we started out on a project, the last thing I do is try to build it from scratch. I go sit down with the people who've done it and say, teach me,
Right.
what do I need to do? And I think you got a neighbor next door that built a fantastic park, as big as Parker Park. And they did it in an unbelievable amount of time. And they've got to have some insights that can help you. With my personal opinion, but I wrote a lot of policy, 39 of them for the city. The first thing I did was I got everybody else's policies.
Yeah.
And just started plagiarizing the heck out of those. Because it was a whole lot better to write a policy from somebody else's working, active, accomplished policy. Same thing about building a park, I go to talk to people. There's some parks in Harriman you ought to go look at as a committee. What they've done down there, nothing else in the state compares to it. They've got money North Ogden doesn't have.
Probably lots.
Yeah, because they have every business you can think of, and 3 of them out there for income, but like I said, don't rebuild the wheel, don't remake it. I'd go talk to people who've done what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think someone should throw out a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, I approve.